Hi, my name is Nathan. I'm the branch manager of the Amite branch of the Tangipahoa Parish Library, and this is Tech Tuesday, a series in which we talk about different tech topics, computer skills, smartphone skills, web safety, things of that nature. And today we're going to talk about digital literacy, fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. And this was originally a live program that we did on September the 8th. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, and so I'm going to re-record this so that you can watch it however you're watching it. All right, let's get started. All right, so this is how to spot fake news, a brief tutorial on detecting misinformation and disinformation online. So what is misinformation and disinformation? Misinformation is incorrect information that's shared accidentally or as a form of satire. Misinformation does not intend to misinform. It is usually either out of ignorance or purely as a joke. Disinformation, on the other hand, is incorrect information that is shared intentionally or maliciously. So this is information that is the person posting it or spreading it knows is incorrect, and they're intentionally or maliciously sharing that with others to spread disinformation. So you're probably thinking, what is fake news? Fake news is an umbrella term used to describe both misinformation and disinformation. This term has been used in American political and journalistic thought for over 100 years as a means to describe outright hoaxes, mistruths, bending of facts, distortions, and outright lies. So let's go through the 7 types of fake news. The first is pretty easy to identify. It's satire. It's content with no intention to cause harm, but it does have the potential to fool. So satire is when a news story is presented as if it were fact for the sake of essentially generating laughs. So this is from The Onion, a very popular satire website. Severely injured woman heroically fights off paramedics trying to force her into medical debt. So this post is clearly not trying to make you think that it's real. It's a farcical situation that's being used to criticize a social issue. And every once in a while, people are still fooled by The Onion. The next one's false connection. This is when headlines, visuals, or captions don't support the content. So right here we have shocking, tragic, 17 celebs that died far too young. Well, Mel Gibson is still alive, so you are now more likely to click this article thinking that you're getting new information. You see this picture, you read this headline, and you're shocked. You think Mel Gibson has passed away, and in reality, there's no mention of Mel Gibson in the article. This is just to get you to click on it. Now let's talk about misleading context. It's the misleading use of information to frame an issue or an individual. So let's take a look at both of these graphs. The graph on the left is an excerpt of the graph on the right. And this shows that if you take and zoom into certain data points, you can bend trends and facts to fit different viewpoints, which is misleading. It's misleading content. So on the left, you see that from the years 1998 to 2012, the global air temperature change in Celsius actually trended down slightly. But if you look at the graph on the right, which puts that in the context of from 1900, you can see that the increase has been quite dramatic. Both of these graphs are factually accurate. It's just a misrepresentation of data. The first graph is out of context, and the data being presented in a way that does not represent reality. Now let's talk about false context. False context is when genuine content is shared with false contextual information. So here we have a tweet from director Jon Favreau, and it says, look at these pictures. This is happening right now, and the only debate that matters is how we force our government to get these kids back to their families as fast as humanly possible. So this is posted on May 27, 2018. And if you follow this link, this is a real news article from a legitimate news source. The problem is that the news story was from 2014. So this article and this image are out of date, and Jon Favreau here is posting it in 2018 as if it's current events, but in reality it had taken place in 2014. That is false context. So now we have imposter content, a little more malicious. These are when genuine sources are impersonated with false, made-up sources. So this is ostensibly a CNN article, HIV virus detected in Walmart bananas after 10-year-old boy contracts the virus. So the URL is not present on this, but a really good common tell for imposter content is CNN.com is obviously taken by the legitimate news organization CNN, whereas this was from CNNnews3.com, which is clearly not going to be CNN's URL. Also, this is just an absurd story. We can look at the headline and realize that's probably false, and just a little bit of digging reveals it. Now let's talk about manipulated content. This is when genuine information or imagery is manipulated to deceive, as with a doctored photo. So this picture circulated Ukraine before Ukraine's National Flag Day in 2015 with this gentleman on the right with a Ukrainian flag on his arm, kissing the American flag. Now this was shared around by anti-American political groups that were trying to frame the other side of the political argument as being pro-American. So we can use a tool that we're going to cover later called a reverse image search. And when we reverse image search, we find that this image has been manipulated quite a lot. This gentleman on the right is actually on the left. This picture is completely mirrored. This flag on his arm has been added. And this image originated on the internet in 2010 within Tajikistan, not 2015 and Ukraine. And then just a little bit more digging shows that in Tajikistan, this is a pretty common show of respect. So it's actually not outside the norm at all. Now we have what's the most malicious, which is fabricated content. There's new content, which is 100% false, designed to deceive and do harm. So in this example, they grabbed a stock image of a highway accident and the logo of Pokemon Go, and then put together this absurd headline, Pokemon Go, major highway accident after man stops in the middle of highway to catch Pikachu. There's nothing factual whatsoever in this article. This is completely fabricated. The image, the text, everything, it is just designed to generate clicks. Let's talk about the tools at your disposal that you can use to vet information to see if it's fake or not. So the first is fact-checking websites. Snopes.com is the most trusted and oldest journalistic fact-checking site. It was founded in 1994 by David Mickelson. Snopes is independently owned and funded by ad placements and individual donations to maintain impartiality. And I mentioned how all of these groups are funded, but know that all of them are funded by individual donations or some sort of foundation to keep impartiality. None of them accept political donations. Factcheck.org was formed in 2003. It's a project of the Annenberg Public Policy Center at the University of Pennsylvania, funded by the APPC, the Annenberg Foundation, and the Flora Family Foundation. All right. PolitiFact.com, which was started by the Tampa Bay Times, is now owned by the Poitner Institute, a nonprofit journalism school, also funded by ad placements and individual donations. And I added one at the bottom that I know some people are probably surprised by, but Wikipedia. I think it's particularly useful in finding quick, hard facts. For example, dates, people, places, things like that are almost always accurate on Wikipedia. Most facts on Wikipedia are well sourced. You can usually find them fairly easy on the bottom in the footnotes. And while I'm not going to go to Wikipedia for analysis, for a quick fact check, it's really very efficient. Information professionals, librarians, journalists, and academics often have the necessary skills to research and accurately determine the validity of a source. Your local public librarian, in this case me, is always happy to help you verify information. My contact is going to be on the final slide of this program. You can feel free to reach out to me if you want any help verifying any digital information. Happy to help. All right, let's talk about the political bias chart. This is produced by Ad Fontes Media. This chart is useful to gauge the general skew of a news source. Ad Fontes Media is a nonpartisan organization that thoroughly documents their website on their process on their website, and you can go review that. I've dug in pretty deep on it, and I am pretty convinced it's about as unbiased as any sort of analysis of news can be. So the reason why you want to have this tool is because the majority of news sources have a distinct political bias to their reporting. That does not mean that the news they are reporting is categorically false. It just means you need to be aware of the frame that that any news you're getting from this source is being processed through. So, for example, a news story from CNN may not be categorically false, but we can look here and see that compared to the gold standard of AP of impartiality, CNN is decidedly to the left. The same would go for the New York Post. The news story may not be false, but you need to be aware that when compared to the nonpartisan AP, it is to the right. Now, the same issue will be covered completely differently by CNN and the New York Post, which is why I think that using the Associated Press as a barometer is a very useful tool. When you see great disparities in reporting, I think it's always good to check the AP and see how they're reporting it, and that tends to be the most unbiased version. The AP is a nonprofit news agency that was founded in 1846. It is a cooperative effort between U.S. newspapers and broadcasters, and it's notable for its lack of bias and partiality. All right, and as far as our own personal debunking, the reverse image search is probably the most powerful tool. This allows the user to search the web with an image to see its original publication data. So what you can actually do is upload a URL or a JPEG, and you can see where that occurs online. The two most popular ones are Google Image Search, which allows you to insert the URL. It will scan the internet and find earlier postings of the same image. It's important to know that Google Image Search is a little bit easier to use than TinEye, but it will only find the exact same image. It will not find manipulations. Whereas TinEye will allow you to find earlier postings of an image and can spot manipulations of content. That's what I use to find the manipulations to the false Ukrainian image from earlier in the slideshow. Thank you for coming to this installment of Tech Tuesday. This will be the second Tuesday of every month we'll do these programs. You can register at tangylibrary.com. These will usually be at 3 p.m. and they will be live. Recordings will be available afterwards. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. You can contact me at tangylibrary.com or some help vetting any online information. Thank you so much for coming. We greatly appreciate it, and you have a great day.